So this complete video deals about the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. This video deals with the important sections plus the schedules. So in this video, we are going to see that whether there were any laws before this act, what is wildlife protection, what are the constitutional framework towards the wildlife, what are the schedules under this act, what is hunting and poaching, sanctuaries and the national parks, and also we are going to see about the trade of animals. Hello guys, welcome to my channel that is Law Simplified 27. Okay, so before this Wildlife Protection Act, the first act was in 1887. Okay, so which was on the Wild Bird Protection Act, and this act was passed during the British Indian government. This law made it illegal to possess and sell the wild birds. Okay, so you cannot sell the wild birds and you cannot possess the wild birds. Then comes to 1912. Okay, in this the Wild Birds and the Animal Protection Act. So in this 1912 act, both the birds as well as the wild animals were included. Then comes the 1935 act. Okay, in this act the 1912 act was amended. And then finally comes the 1972 Wildlife Protection Act. In this, both the wildlife as well as the animals were included, and also the schedules were included in this Wildlife Protection Act. So let's begin with the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. What it is all about. Okay, so this is the introductory part. So every year the Earth Day is celebrated on 22nd of April for the conservation of living as well as the non-living elements. So there is one case law, that is the T.N. Godhavarman versus the Union of India 2012 case this is. And in this case, the Supreme Court referred to a quote that the universe along with its creature belong to the land and no creature is superior than any other. So it means that everybody is equal and nobody is superior or the inferior than any other. So this act was passed on the 21st August 1972 and it was enacted on 9th September and it was passed under the Article 252 of the Indian Constitution. And this law was enacted keeping in the mind that all the previous laws were insufficient. Let's see the constitutional framework. So the Article 21, that is the right to life, includes the right to live in healthy and clean environment. Then Article 48, that is the directive principle of the state policy. And Article 51AG, it is the duty of the citizens to protect the forest and the wildlife. Then the importance of the wildlife protection is that for the economic, for the ecological, for the conservation of biodiversity, for the scientific values, for the recreation, the sports, and the cultural values as well. You can elaborate this one by one. So the important provisions under this Wildlife Protection Act is that the section 1 deals with the title of this act. Okay, as we all know that it is named as a Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So the section 2 gives the definitions for the following terms. Okay, so the first one is animal. What does the animal include? So according to this definition, the word animal includes the mammals, reptiles, amphibians, birds as well as their eggs. The second one is the animal articles. So any object made from the wild animal where the whole body or the part of the body have been used. Okay, but this does not include the vermins. Only the wild animals have been included. The third one is the captive animals. Okay, the any animals specified in the Schedule 1 and the Schedule 2, 3 or the 4. The fourth one is the habitat. Okay, it includes the land, water or the vegetation which is naturally home for the wild animal. And the fifth one is a national park. Okay, it is declared by the central government as a national park. So the section 2 deals with all the definitions, but the section 3 deals with the authorities. Okay, so there are two authorities, that is the central board and the state board. Okay, this is under the section 3, and the section 4 deals with the chief wildlife warden. The state government appoints the chief wildlife warden, the wildlife warden, and the honorary wildlife wardens. The section 5 deals with the powers of delegation of these authorities. So this act has been amended in 2002 and added 5A for the setup of the National Board for the Wildlife. So the Prime Minister is the chairperson of this board, and its function is to promote the conservation and development, and it also has a function to frame the policies to advise the central government as well as the state government. The duties of this board is that the board is supposed to publish a status report at least once in a 2 year on the condition of the wildlife conservation in the country. Okay, so जो भी conditions हो गए about the wildlife, this board has to publish all the report of this condition. And the second duty of this board is that it has to make a recommendations on the setting up the national parks, the sanctuaries, or the any other protected areas. So that was all about the national board. Okay, coming to the state board, this is under the section 6 of this act. Okay, just like under the national board, there was a prime minister as a chairperson. Here, the chief minister will be the chairperson and the administrator in case of the union territories. The state board includes the 10% to be nominated by the state government from amongst the eminent conservationists, ecologists, and the environmentalists, including at least two representatives from the scheduled tribe. So the section 6 is all about the constitution of the state board, and the section 7 is about the meetings of the state board. So the board is required to meet at least twice in a year to discuss about the condition of the wildlife. The section 8 is all about the obligation of the state board to advise the state government in formulating the policies for the protection of the wildlife. So section 12 grants a permission to hunt the animal for the specific purpose. This purpose include for the education purpose, for the scientific research, to collect the snake venom for manufacturing various medical drugs, etc. The section 13 deals with the cancellation or the suspension of a license. Okay, so the authority can suspend a license of any person by giving a proper reason. Now we will see the schedules under this act. Okay, so there are 6 schedules. The first schedule is a protection to endangered species from hunting, poaching, unless the animal poses a threat to the human life. Okay, and the schedule 2 talks about the protection of animal from hunting and poaching for the purpose of trading. And the violation of the schedule 1 and schedule 2, there is a very high penalty. Okay, both the schedule talks about the protection to endangered species. Schedule 3 and schedule 4 provides a protection to the animal not considered as endangered. The violation of the schedule 3 and schedule 4, the penalty is not that high as compared to schedule 1 and schedule 2. And the schedule 5 includes the vermins that can be hunted as they are carrier of a diseases. Now these are the rats, crows, etc. And the schedule 6 talks about the restricted plants that requires a specific permission for the cultivation. Example, the plants that are related to drugs. So now we will see what is hunting and poaching under this act. First of all, hunting of wild animal is totally banned in India. Okay, so the hunting under this act includes the poisoning, killing, trapping any wild animal and or making an attempt to do so. So it means that if you try to kill the animal or poison the animal or try to trap the animal to kill that animal, then it amounts to hunting under this act. It also includes using any animal for the transport purpose, okay, or injuring any wild animal or any part of their body, or killing the eggs of reptile or the birds, or disturbing the nest of eggs of the reptile or the bird is also amount to the hunting. So this is the important case under this act. This is the state of Bihar versus Murad Ali Khan. So in this case, it was held that elephant is included in Schedule 1 and hence the hunting of animal is prohibited. But there are certain exceptions to this, that if that wild animal has become so dangerous to the life of the person, then that person can kill that animal, or if that animal is suffering from any disease that is irrecoverable, then or that animal is causing a harm to the environment and to the people, then that animal can be killed. So there is one more case law, that is the Tilak Bahadur Rai versus the state of Andhra Pradesh. So in this case, what had happened was that the accused shot and killed the tiger. But the court observed that under what circumstances that accused killed the tiger. So if there was a reasonable ground that the tiger was giving a harm to that person, then that person won't be behind the bars. So now we will see what is sanctuaries under this act. Chapter 4 of this act deals with the protected areas. The protected areas such as sanctuaries, national park, etc. And the section 18 particularly deals with the declaration of sanctuaries. So the sanctuaries are declared by the state government and they have the authority to declare any area as a sanctuary by an official notification, provided that area is not already a reserve forest. So the restrictions on the entry to the sanctuaries. So this deals under the section 27 of this act. It means that no person will enter other than the public servant who is on duty, the person who is permitted by the chief wildlife warden or by any authorized officer, and who has any right over the immovable property within the limit of the sanctuaries. But the section 28 deals with the grants of permit. So the any person who wants to investigate or study, then he will be permitted to enter in the sanctuaries, or for the photography, or for the scientific research, or for the tourism. Those people can enter in the sanctuaries. Section 29 says that no person shall destroy or exploit the area of the sanctuaries. And the section 30 says that no person shall set a fire in the sanctuaries. So now we will see what are the national parks, okay, under this act. So these are some of the points which I have highlighted, okay, that you should know if you are answering the exam and also if you are preparing for the UPSC. So the first one is the for the purpose. Okay, so what purpose national parks have been there? So the national park is a park which is used for the protection purpose. Okay. The second point is that the national parks have more restrictions than the sanctuaries. Okay, so the sanctuaries have less restrictions and the national parks have more restrictions. The third one is that the national parks can be declared by the state government by notification. Okay. You should also know what is the main objective of it. Okay, so the main objective is to protect the natural environment. And lastly, no human activities are allowed in the national parks. So the firstly, we will talk about the declaration of national park. Okay, so the section 35 of this act deals with the declaration of national park. So it says that any area which has ecological flora and fauna or with other benefits related to the wildlife, that needs to be constituted as a national park. Okay, so now we will see who has the power to declare the national park and the sanctuaries. Okay, so the section 38 of this act defines the power of the central government to declare the area as a sanctuary or the national park. It says that if the central government is satisfied with the conditions specified in the section 35, then that area can be declared as a sanctuaries and the national park by official notification. तो हम यहाँ पर एक केस लॉस के बारे में देखते हैं विच इज तरुण भारत संघ वर्सेस द यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया. सो इस केस में कहा गया है कि जो भी प्रोटेक्टेड एरियाज हैं उसके अंदर कोई भी माइनिंग नहीं कर सकता है. ओके, सो नो माइनिंग कैन बी डन in the area which is declared as a protected area. So we will see one more case law to understand the national park in a simple way. Okay, so that is Goa Foundation versus the Union of India. ओके, सो यहाँ पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है कि ऑल द माइनिंग विद इन द डिस्टेंस ऑफ 1 किलोमीटर फ्रॉम द नेशनल पार्क्स एंड सेंचुरीज आर प्रोहिबिटेड. ओके, सो दैट वाज ऑल अबाउट द नेशनल पार्क. नाउ वी विल कम टू द लास्ट टॉपिक ऑफ द this act, that is the trade and commerce of the animal. So talking about the ancient India, the environment protection was a moral duty. Okay, birds and the animal as well as the plants were treated as a god, like they were treated as a god's vehicle. In India, the laws governing the trade and commerce is the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So here the section 40 talks about the declaration. Okay, so according to the section 40, a declaration has to be made to the chief wildlife warden or the authorized officer about the number and the descriptions of any animal or the article. So the section 41 deals with the inquiry and the preparation of inventories. Okay, so the authorized officer will enter the premises of the person who have given such a declaration and make an inquiry. So the section 42 talks about the certificate of ownership. Okay, so if the chief wildlife warden satisfies that the person is in the lawful possession of that such animal, then he will grant a certificate of ownership to that person. So the section 43 talks about the regulation of transfer of animal, etc. And there is one exception, that is the tail feather of peacock. So the further section talks about the penalties, that is section 51. So if any person is not following any provision of this act, then he will be punished with the imprisonment, which can extend up to the 3 years and 6 months. So let's see what are the important and landmark judgment. So the first one is the state of Bihar versus the Murad Ali Khan. This case we have already discussed twice in this video. Let's see the further case, that is the Gauri Muleki versus the Union of India. So in this case, it has been clearly declared that in the name of festival, the animal cannot be transported from one place to another and cannot be killed. So there is one more case law, that is the N.R. Nair versus the Union of India. So in this case, the Kerala High Court pronounced that the bear, monkey, tiger, panther, and the lion could not be trained or exhibited as a performing animal, as they subjects to cruelty. So that's it all about the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Thank you all for watching this video. Please do like, share, and support to my channel. Show some love.